Happy quarantine evening, everyone. I'm Mr. Panda.
And I'm Rockstar.
And this is the Manly Battleships YouTube channel where we're doing Last Week in Geek, the video podcast where we go over everything that happened important last week in Geek. This week we're being sponsored by handmade sanitizer wipes, provided with unbranded grain alcohol. Your company name here. No convention news for the foreseeable future, so we're going to hop right into new media. We finally have a real trailer for Rick and Morty Season 4B, showing us a lot of the fun we can expect in the upcoming second half of the season, including a lot of characters who we thought might have fallen off the face of the earth, making a new appearance.
Snowball. I can't wait for Snowball.
Those new episodes are going live on May 3rd, starting May 3rd. They don't dump it all at once like with BoJack.
Thanks, Netflix, for spoiling it up for everybody else. We no longer want weekly shows. We want them all at once. Adult Swim is getting a new show this time, and it's called YOLO, Crystal Fantasy. It's going to be about these Australian party girls who go around Australia looking for love and apparently chaos. We don't have a trailer, just a little bit of a picture, and we don't even have a release date on it yet.
Rick and Morty Bushworld Adventures!
I'll take you to the bush dimension. You can pee behind a tree there.
Actually, funnily enough, the creator is the creator of Bushworld.
Bushworld Adventures! With chicks!
Well, we may not know when the release date is. It's going to come out sometime later this year. I'm kind of excited for it.
We hope it comes out later this year. Assuming there's anyone left to watch it. Last week we talked about Toei launching a YouTube channel for Tokusatsu, but they're also doing a new partnership with Pluto TV to have an entire channel dedicated to round-the-clock streaming of Tokusatsu movies. It's going to be called Tokushoutsu.
Tokushoutsu, yes.
Yay.
It's a pun!
Shows that will be included are Mirai Sentai Time Ranger and Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger.
Look at Rockstar pronouncing Japanese show names.
I'm getting better. What else is there to do in quarantine other than to practice your Japanese pronunciation? If you're a fan of Fruits Basket, Season 2 is coming to Crunchyroll this coming spring. So, look forward for that.
While we might have burst your bubble last week over the cat's butthole cut, have no fear. XVP Comedy has come to the rescue and has made a fake trailer for Cats, the Butthole Cut, that you can watch right now.
We may have missed a lot of April Fool's pranks, but at least this video, this little trailer, should brighten your day up a little bit. During this quarantine, we've seen a lot of companies offer free or reduced services. HBO has joined that list, offering up 500 hours of their content for free to stream. So,
hopefully that doesn't include Game of Thrones.
Winter is coming.
We don't want people to get more depressed.
I don't know if Game of Thrones is a part of that, but they do have a bunch of docuseries, shows, and movies. So, take advantage. Hey, they could watch Detective Pikachu. That's one of the things they offer.
That's acceptable. Ben Silverman and Paul Lieberstein, the creators of The Office, are working on a new project based off of the concept of remote work. Yes, it's inspired by current events. Can you imagine a situation like The Office, but within the entire frame of being forced to work from home? Everybody works from home. Now, what do you get?
If you, like me, are a fan of the Shantae video game series, and you wanted to play Shantae and the Seven Sirens, which has been released to Apple Arcade, don't worry, it's still being released to PC and consoles on May 28th, so keep an eye out for that.
The Switch port for The Outer Worlds already got a delay and is now coming out on June 5th. It is important to note that if you decide to buy the physical copy, that's going to come with a day one patch, over 6 gigabytes. So, I guess weigh in the balance your philosophy as far as that goes.
Mario is celebrating 35 glorious years as a franchise. And in honor of this grand celebration, Nintendo is doing something very special. They're remastering a whole bunch of old Super Mario games for the Switch, including Super Mario 64, Super Mario Galaxy, and Super Mario Sunshine, amongst a whole slew of other ones. I even heard Paper Mario is going to be a part of that.
Super Mario Sunshine.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited. I really want to play these on the Switch now, even though I already own them.
Maybe we can get Super Mario RPG. Ooh, or Yoshi's World. Niantic has made it easier to play Pokemon Go in the midst of social distancing, and you can now participate in raids remotely. Unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, because a lot of players are still reporting lack of Pokeballs, because they can't get to the Poke Centers to get more. Please, may I just have some balls? Usually that's the one thing you don't need on the internet, is more balls.
Amazon and Target are currently having a buy two, get one free on all their video games, board games, and card games. So you can go out there and score some sales.
If you're a fan of Cards Against Humanity, this may or may not interest you. They are offering a new free promo that you can print off from the link down in the description, offering a family-friendly version of Cards Against Humanity as a beta. In my day, we just called that Apples to Apples.
And it wasn't as family and friendly as you may think. If you're sick of playing video games or card games, and you'd rather just read something, Marvel is offering a whole bunch of their comic runs for free right now, including Captain America, X-Men, and Spider-Man, and a whole bunch more.
Game developer King has changed up things for a lot of their mobile games and has allowed unlimited free lives for a bunch of their titles, including all of the Candy Crushes, Bubble Witch 3 Saga, Farm Heroes Saga, and more.
If you're a fan of Legend of Korra, it's being continued in a comic book form, just like the rest of the Avatar series, and it's going to be called Turf Wars. Apparently it's going to feature Korra and Asami in, like their first dates and all kinds of cute things, so I know I'm ready for gay shit. He won't be happy. I'm happy. I'm happy for gay shit.
It's a nonsense relationship.
Nope. Just because you don't understand love.
Take me back to Kill la Kill, where they actually do lesbian relationships justice.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week. This is when we tell you about the meme of the week. Ina Garten. She's famous for her cookbooks and Food Network shows. She recently went on Twitter and showed us how to make a very giant cocktail with an entire bottle of vodka. And I have to say, it was meme to hell, and giant cocktail is totally a mood during this pandemic. These memes have been absolutely great and hysterical. Go ahead, click on the link below to get a good taste of that.
The rock stars moved on to being a Gen Z now with describing, oh, that's a mood. Now we're heading into the real news. The Last of Us 2 has been delayed indefinitely due to things surrounding the COVID virus. Now, you could say that it's just a standard production decision. However, some people have also tied it to the narrative of The Last of Us with the whole plague aspect. A few people have reported that if you ordered it through Amazon, the release date is now showing as December of this year. So that is a possible new release date, though we have not yet confirmed that.
If you were hoping to see Artemis Fowl on the silver screen, yeah, that's no longer going to happen. Disney has decided that they're just going to release it straight to Disney Plus this time. So, unlike the rest of the movies, it's not getting delayed. We have no release date, however, even though it's going straight to digital. So, I guess we'll just have to wait for an update by Disney.
However, there have been new release dates announced for a bunch of other Disney films that will still eventually come to theaters. They include Black Widow. Mulan will still be coming out July 24th as of right now.
Eternals will be coming out February 12th, 2021. And Shang-Chi will be coming out May 7th, 2021.
Doctor Strange 2 is now due out November of 2021. Thor Love and Thunder will appropriately be coming out in February of 2022.
And despite all of this, Captain America 2 finally got a release date with all of the delays. It's got its own release date of July 29th, 2022.
And if you are a fan of The Simpsons, a true hardcore fan that wants to nitpick everything about a technical release, rejoice! Disney has heard you. Disney has announced that the remainder of the old Simpsons will revert from its cropped 16:9 format to the original 4:3 for broadcast. That'll be coming out by the end of May.
We have seen events delayed, canceled, postponed. E3 has decided to actually tell you what its dates are going to be for next year, so they're already thinking ahead of the curve. Their dates are going to be between June 15th and 17th of 2021. Wondering who's even going to bother to come back.
I was going to ask, why are we covering this? Nobody cares.
It's a huge nothing burger, I'll admit, but I just want to see who's going to come back to E3, to be honest. After this, I'm pretty sure game companies are going to be like, I don't understand why I need you. We announced all of our cool stuff online.
Now that E3 literally doesn't exist, we realize we never needed it. A new article coming out from the Japan Times says kind of what we've been saying for the past couple of weeks. Anime cons are being affected by this COVID crisis in a very big way, in an unprecedented way, in an industry-breaking way. At least one commentator has noted that he would be surprised if more than 2/3 of the conventions that cancel from COVID come back next year. Keep in mind that a lot of these conventions are run by very small groups. Even the non-profit ones might not be able to weather this storm, but especially for-profit ones might be at risk if they only focus on one show, because that's their whole cash flow for the year.
Well, not to mention that it may not just be because of cash flow, but a lot of small vendors that you see at cons may not be able to come back. So there may be even smaller dealer rooms than you remember, because those small vendors might go bankrupt over this. So remember to support your local artists, guys, because right now it's more important than ever.
There are entire sub-industries that grow out of the convention circuit. We're an example of that. This is not a great year for us, but thanks for still being here. But we're not the only ones, and some people are even more dependent on actual physical presence for their cash flow than we are. Special note, though, for if you are going to a convention that is a non-profit, you might want to consider still keeping your money in their pocket, so to speak. A couple of conventions are dealing with this in different ways. Zenkai Con, which is one of the venues we were going to appear at, is a non-profit con and has offered to roll forward memberships in addition to just refunding people directly. And that's their decision. With bigger conventions that are nonprofits, the question kind of still hangs in the air and is a little bit more complicated due to complex tax rules surrounding nonprofits. So, for example, there's been a lot of speculation about whether or not Otakon, the granddaddy con for the East Coast in many ways, whether or not they're going to end up having to cancel, either because of venue restrictions or whatever. A lot of people misunderstand how it works for the larger nonprofit cons. Otakon is just the annual convention meeting of Otacorp, the nonprofit corporation. Now, the way it turns out, it's just very similar to how for-profits do it in execution. But on the back end, what's happening is that if you buy a membership to Otacorp, if Otakon doesn't happen, you actually didn't lose anything as far as tax law is concerned. And one of the reasons why Otakon so far hasn't given any signal about refunds is because, as far as the rules are concerned, you're not really entitled to one, because you don't buy a ticket to Otakon, you buy a membership in Otacorp, which just happens to come with the privilege of showing up to the convention. Something that you should definitely think about is what you want to support. I like to try to remind people that Otacorp is very much like NPR. A lot of people get into it because you get to show up to the physical convention, because that's what a lot of this life is all about. But on the other hand, if you believe in the mission of Otacorp, which has been to further the study and the proliferation of anime, you might want to consider, even at the risk of your registration cost, still putting in that money, because Otacorp might need that if they end up having to cancel. It's no different from buying a membership with your local museum, guys. The only difference is you only show up once a year.
Star Citizen has popped up back in the news, and if you don't know what it is, here's a small little background in it. Development for this game started back in 2011, and then it went on Kickstarter in 2012. At that point, it raised about $2 million. Pretty good, successful Kickstarter, if you ask me. Then they got more money from private investors and private crowdfunding, which was about $275 million. That's not all, though, because they just recently got another $17.5 million. Now, this game has been in development for about 9 years, and we still only have about an alpha for it, so no finished, completed thing, and it's raised over $320 million. The question is, when is it going to end? When is development going to end? Why are we still giving them more money?
This project budget is approaching the budget of the most expensive Marvel movie.
It's time to stop!
Even the most expensive video game, which came from Rockstar, and it was about $269 million, something like that, they finished development in 3 years, and it was a pretty successful game. You might have heard of it. I mean, at this point, with all that money, the expectations are pretty high. It's got to get some really bomb-ass reviews to make up for how much money that they have funded this project for.
The skepticism in our voice should not deter you from believing that there are true believers for this game. Rockstar did some investigating and found some pretty poignant comments from people defending the progress of this project.
And hey, if you guys wanted to give it money and are happy with the alpha, that's on you. But, like, people who want a finished product and don't want to give any more money after they've been given $320 million, it's kind of understandable. Like, there needs to be an end point when you've given so much money and you're approaching Marvel movies. Like, and then I'm pretty sure it's still going to disappoint you because $320 million, I expect, like, future tech at that point.
In a win for free speech, Activision just completed a lawsuit in their favor against AM General over the Humvee. AM General makes Humvees these days and sued Activision because of the appearance of unlicensed Humvees in their modern warfare games. Call of Duty and other games from Activision have been featuring the Humvee because, of course, the Humvee is a real military vehicle showing up in real-world combat. And the defense that Activision put up was all focused in on the fact that this was real-world representation of things that had actually happened and are going on now. And what's hilarious is that AM General actually agreed with Activision on a number of points throughout the lawsuit, which the judge kind of like highlighted as like almost scathingly. He's like, well, since you're all in agreement on these points, I guess I have no choice but to say, no, you guys don't sell video games. They're allowed to make it.
Honestly, the whole lawsuit probably started because AM General sees what Ubisoft does with the Crew. The Crew has all these cars in them for racing purposes. Now, what Ubisoft does is they ask the maker of that car whether or not they want to be in on the game, and then they give them a portion of the revenue afterwards. So all of them are getting kind of a piece of the pie. Whereas AM General here, pretty much upset that they're not getting a piece of the pie, and now they won't because of this win on Activision's part.
Whether or not this sets a new standard for other video games is yet to be determined, because it's sort of a unique situation compared to things like racing games or, say, GTA, where you're just going around robbing people.
With work from home and school from home becoming more and more increasingly, or actually it's probably widespread at this point across the country, Zoom has basically exploded in its use. Now, Zoom has a lot of privacy issues. If you haven't been keeping up, it's just been leaking stuff out the wazoo. There's a lot of private calls out there in the world. And it's got another problem called Zoom bombing, in which people just jump into private calls that have been made public one way or another, and they do pranks. Anything from harmless of just a normal-ass prank, or all the way up to porn. Federal government wants you to know that they're no longer tolerating this, and anyone who decides to Zoom bomb a private conversation on Zoom will face serious prison time. To be honest, I kind of don't blame them.
Why anyone's surprised that this happened is beyond me. It's like we're pretending that chat roulette and ventrilo harassment weren't a part of the internet history.
I'm more surprised that Zoom is the particular app that blew up after all of this. Because honestly, there's other things like Skype, which is actually trying to get into the competition now by offering like free services for companies and schools and stuff like that. But why Zoom?
What are they charging them with to threaten them with serious prison time? Is it just the flashers they're going to charge? Like, are they going to just, like, slap a 5-year prison sentence on someone for going up and being like, oh, troll-a-lol-a-lol? Like, I doubt that.
It's, I'm not actually sure. I think it's harassment.
Terroristic threats. That's what they always get you on. Your Honor, that man's penis is itself.
Terrorist?
Your Honor, that man's penis is a terrorist. Of the worst kind. Its very presence purports to inflict injury upon women. On that puzzling thought, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end this episode of Last Week in Geek. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting like. That's what you've done, right? You hit like. I'm sure you already did. If you're new here, or if you've just been lurking and haven't bothered yet, there's a subscribe button. There's a bell so that you can ring to see all our awesome videos, awesome content for an awesome audience. Leave a comment with any of your thoughts below on what we covered today. And as always, I'm Mr. Panda.
And I'm Rockstar. See you next week.
Your Etsy brand beer here. We want our pile of sadness all at one time.
You're gonna start like a fucking counter at the bottom. How many times did she say interesting and little?
Rockstar's word of the day.
If you're a fan of fruit baskets,